elsewhere in the continent now. Uganda has seized its joint military operation with Congo. Operation Shujaa was formed last November to fight the Allied Democratic Forces in Congo, which is one of the most lethal armed groups in that country. The operation was formed after several suicide bombings killed people in Uganda's capital, Kampala. Let's hear now why the joint operation has been paused with our Ugandan correspondent, Isabel Nakiria. Thank you, Isabel, for your time here on eNCA. Now, does this at all look suspicious because of the tensions between Uganda and Kinshasa over the former's alleged support for M23 rebels?
Thank you. There's been a couple of contradictions since that report came out yesterday. Today, the army put out another statement saying that operation has not been stopped, but it seems it has just been paused because yesterday the president met with some of the commanders who were operating in the DRC in the western town of Fort Portal here in Uganda. He was telling them that the operation is successful and was congratulating them for a job well done. But again, back in the DRC, the Speaker of Parliament has called for its parliament to suspend any agreement that the DRC had with Uganda on that operation, Shujaa, claiming that the takeover of Bunagana town at the border of Uganda and the DRC this week was commanded by the M23 rebels, which they claim is backed by Rwanda. And they say that they saw Rwandan forces coming into the DRC through the Ugandan side. And so they say that Uganda stabbed them in the foot, and they say that operation should be cancelled because of that. They also claim that the commander of the land forces here in Uganda, who is the president's son, has been putting out a series of tweets claiming to back Rwanda and saying that any party that, attacks Rwanda will be attacked by Ugandan forces as well. And so that has put up a lot of tension between the three countries.
Talking about that takeover of Bunagana, I think it happened on Monday, if I'm not mistaken, and there's been some days of demonstrations by the Congolese nationals against both Uganda and Rwanda over allegations of supporting the M23 rebels. Have these demonstrations intensified since Uganda's announcement to, as you say, pause or halt their joint military operation for now?
What we hear is that the meeting that, the EAC head of the East African community, that is the Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, yesterday put out a statement calling for a disarmament of that region in eastern DRC, and also called for a deployment of the East African community forces. We understand that a meeting is taking place on Sunday between the commanders of the regional forces to try and find out how fast that force can be deployed in the DRC to quell, all the tension, the destabilization of the armed groups. You know that there are over 120, armed groups in the DRC that have caused violence and killed and maimed many people. And so there is a meeting on Sunday, and we will know when that force will be deployed. And the statement also stated that all armed groups should lay down their tools so that a peaceful means can be reached.
So there was apparently no intervention from Ugandan forces on Monday against the attack by the M23. And the spokesperson of the UPDF, Brigadier Felix, is quoted in the media saying the rebels had posed no threat to Uganda's interest in the DRC. Just explain to us what he meant by that.
After the takeover of Bunagana, the DRC forces retreated into Uganda, and we are told they have been housed in some of the barracks in western Uganda, and some, of course, were injured and are being treated, and they will be taken back. But we are also told President Museveni had a meeting last night with some of his commanders, and of course I think he called the DRC president on the issue of the M23. We are told there could be some interventions that the Ugandan army may pull off, but again that will depend on the other East African countries, because the DRC is now a member of the East African community, and after the chairman Uhuru Kenyatta say that a force should be deployed there, it's unlikely that Uganda could go in there on alone without the other countries meeting and talking about the final preparations of that deployment.
So there's obviously some concern when it comes to the security of that part of the continent, East Africa, that is, especially when you say that Uhuru Kenyatta has decided to also speak to the DRC to see how they can quell the tension there with the demonstrations, etc. So what does this development mean now, this decision by Uganda to halt this military operation? What does it mean for security in East Africa?
I think the security of East Africa is at stake. That's the reports we're hearing, because there have been accusations of Rwanda and Uganda trying to use the armed groups in the DRC to enter the DRC and tap into the vast wealth of that nation. The Eastern DRC is very rich in minerals, and before there have been accusations that Uganda, in other groups, that it went in there to loot the wealth, their minerals, their forest cover that have very rich trees that could be used. And there have been accusations before. And so this time round, some critics say that Rwanda and Uganda that have been accused and have stakes in this country should not be involved. Other countries like Kenya, maybe Tanzania can be involved, but there are questions on Uganda and the neutrality of Uganda and Rwanda.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us. That was our Ugandan correspondent, Isabel Nakiria, speaking to us from Kampala in Uganda.